Hi everybody, I'm Ali, I'm an architect, and today we're going to talk about me and how I became an architect. So let's go. When did I decide I wanted to become an architect and why? I don't actually remember why, what it was that made me think that was the job for me. I remember when I was 13 and I remember coming home and asking my mum, and I said, what is that name for people who design buildings again? And she was like, architects. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And she's like, right, okay, that's quite a lot of work. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing with my life. So yeah, that's when I decided, and I'm quite stubborn. So when I decide something, I kind of want to check that that is what I want to do, and then I kind of just go straight ahead and do it. So after I decided that, when I was 16, I got some work experience in a local architects that my dad knew. My dad's a welder and fabricator. So he knew this guy, and I went and spent a week with them basically, and it was really cool. And I learned CAD, like really basically, and they let me print out a CAD plan for this random sort of miniature little building I'd drawn, and it was really nice. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So one of the problems with me becoming an architect, though, was I am not very academically gifted, which is something I'm going to probably talk about a few times over, because it's something I really get quite militant about, because I really don't like people talking about architects like you need to be fucking amazing in your A levels and GCSEs, because it's not true. Like, architecture involves certain skills you learn in certain subjects at school, but also you're being taught a completely different subject. And the way you think, and also, stamina to want to stay in a profession that takes at least 7 years to qualify in, is, in my opinion, way more important. But yeah, basically, I had 3 separate teachers, well, a careers advisor and 2 teachers, tell me I shouldn't be an architect because I wasn't clever enough. Basically, I wasn't getting the grades at school to be able to do it. And that did not stop me because, as I say, I'm stubborn, but for some people, it certainly would. So in order to deal with the fact I didn't have great grades, while I was doing my A-levels, I went back to college at night time to redo my maths and my English GCSEs. And I managed to get 1 grade better in both. So I ended up with Bs in those instead of Cs. When I say I was bad at maths, I mean, like, I did not, and still don't, like, I can't engage with maths if I'm just like asked maths. My brain completely shuts down because of the way I was taught at school. It was quite like pressure. And so I just would rather not do it. So when there was the exam and you'd have that question that's like, if the train takes this long to arrive, then how fast does it travel? I would literally just put a cross and move on to the next question. That's the GCSE exam. If there was anything that looked even vaguely like algebra, no, and move on. But now in architecture, working out things like U values, that essentially is algebra, I enjoy doing it and it's fine. As long as I understand the purpose of why I'm learning that, then I'm okay with it. But I really didn't like it at school because I didn't see why the hell I was being taught it, and I just didn't care. So, but yeah, I had to go back to college. Going back to college at night to redo it was, for me, good because obviously I got to improve my grades, but also I chose to go back and redo it in order to get into university. And that was made it kind of fine for me because that's kind of who I am. So yeah, as I said, I checked with work experience before I wanted to go into architecture. And then while I was in my first year of architecture, I also did work experience in like Easter and then in summer, just to kind of try out different practices and see that I really did want to do this as a job. So I really kind of quite heavily checked my idea of wanting to be an architect. So yeah, I'm the second person in my family to go to uni. The first is my older brother. I went during a time when the Labour government was really keen on everyone going to university. Probably not the best idea for everybody. I also went at a time when I went to Scotland. I went to Edinburgh for both my bachelor's and master's degree. And for my bachelor's degree, tuition in Scotland was like 1,700 something a year. And I had a full student loan and a full student grant as well. If I was going to university today, I don't know whether I would be able to go. I don't think I would be able to afford it. That's something that really concerns me about architecture, and like a diversity of people from different backgrounds and different kind of lives in architecture is so important that if it's not accessible, that's a big problem. So I would probably have had to go down something like an apprenticeship route maybe instead. So yeah, that's the kind of realisticness of that. I got to go to Edinburgh College of Art for my bachelor's degree. That was incredible. An art school was way more me than like a university. I also went to look around Edinburgh University, but I didn't like it. It was way too maths and technical focused for my liking. So I looked at Glasgow School of Art, what was then Leeds Met and is now Leeds Beckett, and Edinburgh College of Art. And they were kind of my three. I really wanted to go to Scotland, though. I'm from the northwest of England, so I didn't want to go any further south, which seems ridiculous now because I live in London at the moment. But hey, so yeah, I went to Edinburgh, and it was amazing. And I think being taught it from an art school perspective really helps. I mean, for me, they prioritize the design skills that kind of become second nature to you throughout your education, and that was really valuable for me. Okay, and then after my bachelor's degree, there was a year out, obviously for work experience or like, professional practice. So where you're recording PDR. That my year out also coincided with the financial crash. So everything was really, nothing was going on. So I didn't manage to get a year's experience. I got 3 months experience at Simpson & Brown in Edinburgh. It's like a heritage led conservation kind of practice, and I really liked all of their work. It was amazing. I got to go to some amazing site meetings and some amazing projects, and work with great people. So it was really, really good. In hindsight, I probably should have stayed there for a full 12 months. The reason I returned to university after so it was literally the end of my year out. I got 3 months and then I needed to go back to uni for my master's. And that was because my year group were the first year to be the ASALA school, which is the Edinburgh School of Architecture and Landscape Architecture. So we were kind of offered, I don't know, like it's not like a deal or a more lenient place, but you were kind of like, if you want to get into the master's course, you should probably just kind of take it. And we'd lost our kind of honours of our first degree because of this merger and stuff. So it was a whole kind of mess. And we were like, right, we may as well. So me and a lot of other people decided that we would stay. So yeah, in hindsight, I probably would have stayed in my year out for at least a full year, if not longer. And I might have gone somewhere else for my master's instead of stayed in the same city. But Edinburgh is like my favourite city. So maybe I wouldn't have. So then I joined Edinburgh University, the first year of SALA as it was, for my master's degree. And I chose to do a master's degree that was 2 separate year programs. So you can either do one design module, usually that's like over the 2 years. Some schools only offer that, like Edinburgh University used to only offer that. And Edinburgh College of Art used to offer a modular system where you have 1 year, one design topic, and the next year a different one, and they're not linked. I chose to have 2 separate ones. And my first year master's course, I really did not get on with well enough. I remember having a bit of a quarter-life crisis at the end of my master's first year. I decided that I really wanted to still be an architect, but I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do, or how I wanted to do it, because I felt like school was really unrealistic, and that really irritated me about it. And I think that's coming from having like a dad who's a auto fabricator, where anything like metal work and kind of involving engineering, and you see things from a child being put together, like the idea of things not being realistic really irritated me. Even though university is a great time to experiment and do some crazy stuff. So I remember I worked at the degree show at the end of my first year of masters, and I saw what 2 of the tutors had done in Venice, and it was Vicky and Adrian, and they still work there at ASALA. I'm sorry, guys, I don't remember your second names and I'm not going to look it up. But Vicky and Adrian, who usually run courses together, and they were Edinburgh Uni tutors. So I thought they're probably going to do another 2-year course now that one's over. But if they do a 1 year, then that's the course that I'm going to go on. So when I rejoined my master's second year, they had a course that was for Cordoba in Spain on the Guadalquivir River. And I was like, right, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that course because I loved their aesthetic, and what they were trying to do with architecture was exactly what I was interested in doing as well. So I did that. Then that was the end of my master's degree. So I had a B.Arch and then an M.Arch, and I graduated. We had our degree show. I got offered a job from the degree show in Yorkshire, and I took that job and I moved to Yorkshire. And And that was with a great company called Shaw and Jagger, who are brilliant. Again, they're like a heritage focused kind of practice, but a lot of new build work as well, and a small team, which I think was really good for me coming straight out of university, because they give the opportunity to really try things. And I had one of the directors was amazing in giving me the opportunity to design a cafe in one of the projects that we just taken on when I quite like soon after I joined, which was kind of incredible. As a part two, you don't usually get that. So in smaller practice, you get a much greater breadth of experience, which is why I've always liked them. I think they stand you in really good stead for the later in your career. But we can talk about that in another video, like what kind of placements you maybe want, and it depends entirely on like the person and what you're interested in. So after 3 years with Shaw and Jagger, I was doing my part three, because obviously I only had the 3 months before. So basically I worked up until I had my 24 months experience, and then I started doing my part three, which would have been like my third year there, I think. And I did that with a PEAS, that is the Scottish system, and I failed. And I decided, I thought I should probably have a change of life. I didn't want to stay in Yorkshire. And at the time, my sister lived in London. So we decided we'd move to London. And so I moved to London. For a year, I didn't have a job. I was looking for a job in a practice. So I ran jobs myself. I had a project in Edinburgh that was renovating a flat for a friend of mine, which honestly was probably the best learning, because I was kind of just chucked in. And it's like, we needed to do this. And it was a great client and a great project. And it gave me a lot of confidence. It was really, really nice to do. And I think really helped me towards things like my part three as well, just having like hands-on experience and being responsible for stuff, like the book stopping with me on decisions and also like problems and everything. It was really a great learning experience. And yeah, so then I got a job at Allies and Morrison. I was offered 2 jobs at the same time, one with a really small practice, one with Allies and Morrison. And I thought I should do the thing that I had never done before. So I should go and work for like a 300 plus people practice and find out what the hell that was about. So that's what I did. And I've been at Allies and Morrison for 4 years now. And I did my part three whilst I was at Allies and Morrison. I did it with the AA the second time in London, which also just surprised me, because considering I would never have got accepted to the AA, I don't think, when I was first trying to get into a bachelor's degree, and then coming back as a part three, and you're kind of welcomed in because you've done the work, you have the qualifications. That was kind of amazing. And they run an incredible course, and it was more streamlined, and it wasn't a whole year, and I got to just do stuff and learn stuff really quickly and really, really well. So that's an amazing course. And yeah, so then I passed my part three. And it was through that whole process that I thought there's not enough kind of guidance for people who are trying to learn to be an architect. It's all very kind of wordy guidance, and you have to really dig into it to understand what the hell's going on, especially with part three and what's expected of you and what you need to produce, and different part three courses that actually ask for different things. Like the AA is a very different course to what is done in most of the country. And I was really lucky to find that and be able to attend that course, I think, because it shortened how long it would take me to do the exam and everything. But it relies heavily on like an understanding of the knowledge. And obviously I had this background in small practice, and I'd run contracts and things. So I'd seen everything every day and kind of been involved from beginning to end in projects, which I think is important. And that's something I see part twos often find difficulty trying to get experience like that in actual construction, especially in larger practices where everything tends to be design and build. So there's not as much direct experience of those things. So I was lucky in those regards. And so, yeah, I thought I would set up a YouTube channel to kind of record that and come at it from my perspective. Like I say, one of the things I'm really keen on is trying to explain to people that architecture needs to be diverse with people from all different backgrounds. And just because you aren't great at physics and maths and English at school does not mean you can't be an architect. Like literally everybody would be a great architect. They'd just be really different architects. And I think that's kind of the key thing of it as a vocation of a career. It's what you bring to it, part as much as what you're taught to do. And that's like, so it's why it's open to everybody. Really, like an interest in wanting to do something is so much more important. And I've always said that before, and I'll carry on saying it, I guess. So yeah, that's one of the things that I would really like people to kind of understand. And then equally, the difference in practices and the difference in architecture of what kind of architect you can be. There's not just one thing. Being an architect in a small practice to being an architect in a big practice is quite different. And architectural education does not mean you have to be an architect. You could be like a graphic designer, interior designer, project manager. There's like the way it branches into everything else is it's a great course, but it's a lot of work. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. That's a little bit about me. Hopefully it's helpful. If you have any questions, then just drop them in the comments below. Have a great day wherever you are. Thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you again soon. Bye, guys. I don't know what we...